Hey there, Cheesemeisters, and welcome back to the Peach Pod After Dark. I am Jeff, and I don't think there's one word that can describe a man's life. And joining me on the other end of the internet is my co-host.
I'm Leslie, and I just try everything I can.
You should. It's certainly the way to go about it, at least in this movie.
Yeah,
Uh,
when it
this
works.
week, yeah, this week, Cheesemeisters, we are watching Citizen Kane, the 1941 spoilers. It's a sled masterpiece, written by Herman Mankiewicz, John Houseman, Orson Welles, directed by Orson Welles, starring Orson Welles and Joseph Cotton, Dorothy Cummingore. I'm not 100% sure how to say that name.
Yeah.
Um, Agnes Moorehead, who boomers and Gen Xers will recognize as Endora from Bewitched. So I don't know if you ever watched Bewitched on Nick at Night. Yeah, I think the
Oh,
mom did.
nice.
Yeah. Ruth Warwick and Ray Collins, who we've seen in, I think Ray Collins was also in um, the fucking movie we watched with Charlton Heston and Orson Welles in it about the Mexican border, Touch of
Touch
Evil.
people?
Yeah. It was getting, the title of it was getting pushed out by The Third Man, which is another Orson Welles movie.
Oh my god.
Yeah, which is also a fucking great movie. Like, if we find a reason to watch that, it's pretty interesting. We're watching this in conjunction with season 3, episode, I don't know, 29, I guess, or 30.
One of
Commencement
those.
part 2. Yeah, it's hard to tell with this one. Commencement part 2. Our spelling connection is Joseph Cotton, who was in Fantasy Island and The Love Boat. So we chose this movie for a couple of reasons. The first of which is that we didn't want to choose anything that could possibly compete with Dazed and Confused. Not that, and this is the only time that anyone's ever been like, Citizen Kane can't hold a candle to Dazed and Confused. And it's not that so much as you fucking loved Dazed and Confused, and so do I. And it seemed like there was, oh, you got it. All right, all right, all right. Yeah,
I'm,
you're
I'm
doing really,
obsessed. I hate saying that word, but I really fucking loved it, and it hit me.
yeah. Oh, it's great. So we didn't want to do a high school movie, even though this is graduation from high school, and we could have gone that direction. We needed to pick something that was very different, so that there's there's no tendency on our part to go, well, but Dazed and Confused did this. Um, so what we looked at was the overarching structure of commencements part 1 and 2, and that is that they are told with a series of flashbacks. Some of them memories, some of them
Things no
fucking,
one ever could have recorded.
yeah, videos of skydivers where there were no video cameras, all sorts of nonsense. So we were looking at something that told a movie in told a story in flashback form, and we landed on a couple that are really good options, and I kind of would have been good either way, but we landed on Citizen Kane, I think largely because without us doing this, you probably were never going to watch it. Yeah, and to me, that's an interesting reason to choose it. Like, let's start there. Why do you think you never would have watched it? And are you glad you did?
Occasionally, I occasionally hipster qualities come out, and if everyone is telling me, or throwing the laurels in the air of this of one piece of art, I'm like, no, it can't
Right.
be. No,
Mm-hmm.
thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I figure enough people love it. What more could I add to it, or what could it do for me? I don't
Sure.
know. Um So there's that. I am glad I watched it because I like feeling justified in my opinion. Now, granted,
Mm.
there are opinions I have about this movie that I never could have had not having seen it.
Hmm.
Um, and I have a lot of mixed feelings about this.
Okay.
I didn't hate it or dislike it. I think it's, you know, I think there are some timeless qualities about it. Obviously it is a masterpiece, uh, and in its innovation.
Hmm.
But I'll be honest, most of the story did not grab me until I saw that fucking sled, and
Hmm.
then I was destroyed,
Yeah.
much like that fucking sled.
Right. Yeah.
I'm so thankful I had to cry at work today. It's my job.
Mm.
Um, so that I wouldn't be crying tonight. Because when that happened, I thought, I don't know how I'm going to talk about this.
Yeah.
I don't want to cry on this show.
um, okay. So I think that this movie is probably a grower, not a shower.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like even though you knew going in what Rosebud was, um, I don't think you I don't think you get everything about this movie until you've seen it a few times.
Okay.
Um, because I mean, I this is probably, I don't know, third or fourth time I've seen it. And my opinion of it largely has been the movie's really impressive. Like, it's really, really impressive. And the first time I saw it, I think I felt about him some of the ways that I feel about George Bailey, where
Mm,
like where he has an ambition, and it, like, the night before he's set to win the election, he's taken out by a scandal that's not um it's not 100% true, the thing he gets scandalized for.
yeah,
um as far as we know, he's not sleeping with his second wife yet, um during the election. Now,
I would agree with that
yeah,
assessment.
he gets a divorce and immediately, builds her an opera house. Um, but like, I think there's stuff that you just don't catch, or you don't feel the weight of until
Yeah.
you've seen it a few times. Like one thing I never noticed. So here's what this movie is for everybody who hasn't seen it. It starts out with the death of Charles Foster Kane. He drops a snow globe onto the ground in just a fucking brilliant shot. I mean, come on with that snow globe shot, and his maid coming in that you see reflected in the curvature of the snow globe. And you see him say his final word, which is Rosebud. And then cut to newsreel footage of Charles Foster Kane's life, which is uh, at 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 once a total send up of news on the march, and like the surface level reporting that went into those sorts of newsreels. But it's also this genius framing device where it tells you everything you're going to see.
Yes.
And then when you see it, you're like, oh, I have a frame of reference for that. I saw that reflected in this. I knew he was going to run for mayor, and I knew he was going to lose. And I knew that he had a first wife who left him and a second wife who left him. And I knew that he built this Xanadu, this castle, for his second wife, and never finished it before she left, and never finished it before he died. And so, like, you have the big pieces of his life, but the newsmen want to figure out what's going on with Charles Foster Kane. Can we figure out this guy's life? Who is he?
I
Um,
almost texted you in the middle of that newsreel because I think it had to have been 10 minutes. I almost texted
it's
you,
long.
this the whole movie? Because
Yeah,
it was aggressive.
yeah, yeah. Um, it's it's. I think everything in this movie is that way on purpose. You know what I mean? Like,
Okay.
whatever it is they're doing is 100% because they meant to do it. Um, and so they send a reporter out who's like, if we could maybe figure out what Rosebud meant, because it was his last word. This is something that this guy cared enough about that it was the last thing he said on this earth. So let's try to find out what it is. So this reporter goes around and he interviews all of these people who knew Charles Foster Kane throughout his life. Um, and each of them tells a part of the story that we saw on the newsreel.
Yeah.
And we see through them telling the story all of those beats and fleshes them out, and it gives you a whole lot more insight into him and his marriages and the campaign and why he lost and the newspaper he ran and all of this stuff. But it never solves the mystery.
Yeah.
They give up. They can't figure it out, and they are like, well, all right, I guess we're done. And that's when they go through the giant room in his castle that has so much of the artwork he's collected over his life and these things that he's accumulated. And they're like, oh, we're, packing it up, we're returning, we're selling, whatever they're doing, they're getting rid of all of it. And someone finds the sled and throws it in the fire. And that's when you see Rosebud written across the top of the sled as the paint starts to melt away. And it hits like a fucking hammer in the gut. Like, it is, like, talk about a reveal. You know what I mean?
I was yelling. My roommates later were like, "Are you okay?"
And you're
I
like,
went,
do you
"No,
fucking know about Rosebud?
I did." I was like, "Have you seen Citizen Kane?" And one of them's younger than, like, much younger than it was awful.
Yeah, no, I'm so glad that hit you. Like that it just hit you hard.
I am too, because listen, I don't like being a bitter person, but I feel like how I watch this is kind of how you felt watching Newsies. Like,
Uh-huh.
and I don't even know, I don't know if it's stuff happening in the world. I don't know if it's where I am, but I was watching this and just feeling bitter a lot of
Uh-huh.
the time. Not the whole time, but especially near the end. And, yeah, but so as awful as it was good to feel something.
Yeah. So this time when I saw it, I mean, the Pulitzer aspect of it is just as present in this movie as it is in Newsies. Like, that whole piece of Newsies that made me angry and just made me
Mhm.
feel shitty is all in this movie.
Yeah.
Um, and so, like, I watched this movie this time, and I am, for most of the movie, I am fuck this guy. Like,
Okay, great.
I'm not on the side of Charles Foster Kane. I think he's a total asshole. But the first time I saw this movie, like I said, I had a George Bailey thing going on where I felt sympathy for him as a person, because he lived a life where he was never able to fill that hole that he had inside of him.
Yeah.
And that is fundamentally human and very sad. So I thought this movie, from my previous viewings, was the rise and fall of a great man,
Mm.
right? Like, that's sort of how I viewed this. This time, I'm like, this guy's a fucking asshole. He is everything that's wrong with our country right now is Charles
Mhm.
fucking Foster Kane. C. Montgomery Burns. Um, Everybody else that has a B in front of their net worth. Um, he is objectionable the whole movie. And but then you get to the end and you still get that gut punch of, like, and what I realized about 2/3 of the way through the movie is that I don't think the movie likes him either.
Yeah,
I
I would
think
agree.
the whole movie is an indictment. It's an indictment of William Randolph Hearst and Joseph Pulitzer and newspapers. I mean, they even go so far as to say that Kane instigated the Spanish American War through his newspaper, which Hearst and Pulitzer both very much did IRL. That's how the kids say it.
Ha.
Yeah. it's an indictment of wealth and the wealthy, because his mom comes into money and the first thing she does is get rid of this fucking kid. And she says it's to protect him from his dad, but his dad seems like the only person who loves him. Like he seems like he's really doesn't want him to go. Like this is a bad idea for the dad.
Oh, see, I got the opposite.
Really? You didn't think that the dad was like in his corner at all?
I felt like the dad was delusional,
Mm,
and you know, I didn't get this the first time. I rewatched a lot of the clips before we started this, but that was one where I was like, because I don't understand the adoption, why this is happening, and I'm like,
mm,
people were raising children on the prairie. It was fine. It was a thing.
right.
But then, and what you're saying, about her coming into money and wanting to sell him off, like, fine. That some of that can be true. However, I definitely feel like she thought, I can't get out of this, but I can get him out of it,
Mm-hmm.
because the dad does hint at like wanting to hit his son.
Sure,
Like
but
that.
that was like everybody. You know what I mean?
Sure, but it doesn't mean that everyone was okay with it.
No, but it doesn't. It also doesn't mean that like just because he occasionally would hit his kid, that the mom would be like, "I must protect you," because this is how people raise kids in
Sure.
1900s, the early 1900s.
I mean, it's a 30s portrayal of, or not 30s. Is it the 30s? No, it's 40s.
1941.
1940s portrayal of a time even longer ago, the
Yeah.
pioneer days. So it's hard to say. But I think there can be a little bit of both of our interpretations.
Oh, I think so. I mean, and again, I think that's one of the things that I think is great about this movie, is that it's got a lot of layers to what's happening with this character and to this character, um, and the way he's portrayed, and like, oh, there were a couple more things I wanted to say this was an indictment of before sort of moving
Oh,
on
sweet.
to yeah. Um, this is an indictment of politics
Mm,
and the way that power is purchased through money and through newspaper coverage. And it is a surprisingly scathing indictment of 2025.
yep.
I mean, it's, and because there's a lot of places where I felt that, like I said, all the billionaires can go fuck off. But the thing that really landed it for me was when he loses the election and they cut to the newspaper and they're holding up the Kane wins headline.
Hmm.
And whoever is there gets it on the phone, like, looks like we have to go with the other one. And they put that one down and they lift up the other one and it says fraud at the polls. And I went, fuck everything. Like it's a goddamn playbook for
Yeah.
the shit we're dealing with right now. Um, and so like there could be a tendency, understanding that framing, to look at this movie and say, you want me to feel bad for these motherfuckers? Like you want to give him some kind of rewarding or redeeming quality, or say that he was like this because of his childhood trauma, or like whatever. And it is trying to tell a very a complicated story about a complex person.
Hmm.
And if you can de-Trump this thing, which I think you can do, I pretty much did. um you can you can feel for this character,
Hmm.
you know because it's like the thing that's so heartbreaking about the sled at the end, and the fact that the reporter never finds out about it, is that Kane is dead
Yeah.
and no one will ever know the person that he thought he was. It will remain unknown.
Yeah.
only thing we're ever going to know about Charles Foster Kane is this newsreel, which is surface level, or the memories of the people who knew him, which is, guess what, everybody, true of all of us. But
Yeah.
is the memories that are told about him are told by people with a slant. Like, the first guy he goes and talks to is a sycophant. Like, he's just a straight up bootlicker. Charles Foster Kane, greatest sumbitch ever son of bitched. Like, he was all about it. And then he tries to go talk to his second wife, who is drunk and doesn't want anything to do with him, and doesn't want anything to do with the reporter. And then he goes and talks to Joseph Cotton, who was like Kane's best friend, but they had a falling out
Yeah.
um, over the second wife and her total inability to sing, and Kane's insistence that she could. And then they go talk to the wife, the second wife, and she is embittered towards him for the things he made her do.
To save
And
face.
yeah, like she had to humiliate herself in public for his efforts to make himself look grand through her. And and it puts this spin on the newsreel, because the newsreel thing is like, Kane builds the Chicago Opera House for his second wife. And then you're like, then they get married and they're like, can she sing? He's like, well, if she can't, I'll build her own opera house. And you're like, ow, that's a whole different spin on what happened there.
Yeah.
You know? So it just keeps giving you different ways to look at this guy. And you can draw your own conclusions of him at the end of the movie and support all of them based on what you just saw.
Yeah.
One thing is for sure, no one is going to know who he thought he was.
Mm-hmm.
And that is fundamentally a human tragedy.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely thought I also saw similarities to It's a Wonderful Life as I was watching this, and I thought that was crazy. Um, but now knowing that you also saw it, I'm like, okay, great, because it's almost like the opposite of It's a Wonderful Life. You know, you George Bailey, you get to see he gets to see what his life would be like without him, and people are just itching to see what their life would have been like without Orson Welles. Or I'm sorry, not Orson Welles, but people
Well,
had problems with him.
Hollywood, yeah, Hollywood kind of felt that way too. Um, so,
Slip of the tongue.
through the door or out the window. I
Get
don't
me.
know.
I'm building opera houses.
Um, we serve hard liquor for billionaires in here who want to get drunk fast. God damn, that's a good movie. Um, uh, there's another thing that another movie connection I made to something we have covered, and I'm wondering if you saw the connection to Boys in the Hood.
No.
Okay, because I'm pretty sure it's intentional on the behalf of Boys in the Hood. This movie starts out with a close up of a no trespassing sign.
Oh.
And goes up and it keeps zooming in on the house and on the window in the top room, and then that light goes out and then you're inside the window, which is also, not for nothing, kind of a Psycho thing, like coming in through the
Yeah.
window peeping in. But the no trespassing sign and the stop sign at the beginning of Boys in the Hood, there's no way Singleton didn't do that on purpose as a tip of the
Yeah.
hat to this movie, because that no trespassing sign is just as fucking subtle as the stop sign in Boys in the Hood. You
Yeah.
know, it is like, you cannot come inside this man's
Yeah.
life. You are going to be held at arm's length. And, stop the violence, but stay the fuck out of this guy's life, because you're not going to learn anything.
It reminds me of the line Betty says to Dawn after they've hooked up post marriage and they're talking about Megan, and she goes, "Oh, that poor girl. She doesn't know that the quickest way to lose you is to love you."
Right. Yeah. Because Don Draper and Charles Foster Kane cannot love others.
Nope. They're awful people. They are
Yeah.
broken men.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so I just think I think that part of it was pretty interesting. I was like, I didn't expect to think of Boys in the Hood when I was watching this. Um,
That's awesome.
yeah. I mean, that's the cool thing about this movie is, and because like, this movie is 80 years old and it was groundbreaking at the time. It was Star Wars before Star Wars. It was 2001: A Space Odyssey. Like it was the art form being pushed forward by a visionary,
Yeah.
and people coming out of the theater going, "I've never fucking seen that before." And it it was more influential than it was popular. But the fact that in 1991, 50 years later, Singleton is going, "I'm stealing that first shot. Like I'm using it." And this movie, like the things that this movie did, um, are so commonplace now that you may watch it and not feel awed. It could just feel like a movie, you know. But when you realize like this is the first movie that ever showed a ceiling inside.
That's crazy.
Yeah, because no one could figure out how to do it. You know, because you're in a studio, that's where the lights are. You can't show the ceiling.
Yeah.
But he manages to put a ceiling in and light from different places, some of them through the ceiling, I think.
Yeah.
But he doesn't just do it to be like flexing, look what I can do.
Yeah.
Like it's on purpose. And he also, I've seen like video footage of this. He, in the newsroom, he dug a hole in the floor so that the cameraman and the camera could get deep in the floor and shoot up at Kane and see the ceiling, and the ceiling is low.
Yeah.
Right? Like it looks like a low ceiling. And all of that is done to make Kane seem larger than life.
And he does.
He does. And they play with perspective in this movie, like the low ceilings, and then there's one shot where there's a window in the background that's behind him, and he turns and walks towards it, and as he gets towards it, you start to notice that the window, which you thought was small, is huge and above him. And so when he goes back by that window, you suddenly see how small he is in reference to the things around him. And then he turns around and he comes back and he is larger than life again.
Yeah.
Like they're just doing all of this stuff with perspective and technology and cinematography to really lay this story in there that is kind of amazing.
The lighting too, it was immediately apparent to me what they were trying to tell, because anything that wasn't Kane or Kane related, in terms of like it was talking about him, it was something he owned that was important. Everything else was in shadow.
Deep shadow, yeah.
Deep shadow. Kane was never in shadow until he said, I'm gonna wait, discuss the paper's principles. Or make his declaration of principles. I was like, oh, that's
yeah. And he was in shadow too, above the stage when she's singing. That crane shot that goes all the way up never quite shows him in his entirety.
Speaking of that moment, talk about, I'm so glad you were able to think of something way better. Unfortunately for me, when I see him clapping hands in the audience, I thought, is that the reference point that Shia LaBeouf had for the end of that one music video where he's just in an auditorium alone, looking morose and clapping his hands? I was like, this feels like the reference.
You know what I thought you were going to say?
Where?
Woo! Woo! Woo!
I wish I'd thought of Sue Scanlon. I would rather, oh my God. No, I won't go there. Oh, that was a horrible episode. And
Are we gonna have to fight? Are you saying that Home and Away, the greatest episode in the history of 90210, is a horrible episode?
Oh wait, no, I was no, not Home and Away. I'm sorry. I don't know. I thought of Sue Scanlon. I immediately jumped to the Uncle Henry episode.
Oh, the Uncle Henry stuff. Yeah,
My mind is going so many. Listen,
I get it.
I've had to be all over the place today
I
mentally.
get it. So, do you think Sue Scanlon was a reference to Citizen Kane? Because
No,
I would love it if
no. Worse. I think Shia LaBeouf was making a reference to Citizen Kane.
probably, probably. Like I was looking on, and I want to talk about this and what else later. But I was looking on IMDb at things that reference Citizen Kane, and there are like 100 entries.
Wow.
Oh, yeah, and like 10 of them are The Simpsons. So
Perfect.
yeah, so which I do want to talk about later. Um, what else? What else do you want to talk about the movie um before we get into the intimacy of it all?
Um. So in the news on March,
Yeah.
they mentioned something. I forget what the exact line was when he had to. They were talking about the political race, and
Mm-hmm.
then how he had to bow out in disgrace or something, or when his political career was over. And I went, cancel culture.
Oh,
It,
sure.
it's always been there. It's always
Mm-hmm.
existed. Um, And then the reference to yellow journalism, I was like, there it is again, Newsies.
Yeah.
And I thought that was the only time, and you were like, it's kind of the whole movie.
It really is the whole movie. Yeah, it's the the approach to the news and how easily it can be bought and spun and sold and packaged, and like it can be anything that the person printing the newspaper wants it to be.
It's despicable. What was even the
Uh-huh.
point of getting freedom of the press? What was the point?
Yeah, making money.
Well,
I mean,
that,
freedom of the press belongs to the person who owns the press. You know,
clearly.
I mean, you can print whatever you want on that machine. Just you can give out wings all you want on that thing. Um, I
Whose press did you use? Whose?
uh,
Whose?
you all right? I learned it by watching you. Um, 80s drug PSA for everybody out there. Gen X for the win.
Oh,
Um,
God.
yeah. Um, oh, the other thing that I noticed this time about Rosebud that I didn't notice before was the first mention of it is in the um it's when they're talking about um what kind of story they're going to do on him, and the bank guy, whatever his name is, that like raised him, that
Thatcher.
like what's that?
Thatcher.
Thatcher. Like that guy who ran the trust, hashtag Jim Walsh, like Kane hated that guy so much that he went after trusts when he became 25. Like he took it at him. But when they were talking about him, they were like, "Hey, Thatcher, this kid never liked you, did he? Like the first time you met him, he hit you with a sled." And I'm like, "Oh fuck, I didn't even remember that." And then they showed the scene, and it is he like if you see it a second or third time, you see that the reason that Rosebud was his last word was not only because this sled was present at the last happy moment of his life and he was a child, but also that he tried to use that sled to protect himself and it failed.
Yeah.
And so the sled itself holds this layered meaning for him
Mm-hmm.
that you could watch this movie 10 times and not really pick up that part of it at the beginning. And it's just like it makes the whole thing land harder, I think, in
Yeah.
a much better way. And that's why you like you're like, oh, this movie is a fucking masterpiece. Like I could get not feeling like um, drawn in by the plot, or certainly not wanting to root for the main character, or not being overwhelmed by the technological advances because they seem so commonplace now. Um, but the story and the cinematography and the direction are so interestingly done that you're just like, I'm in for what they did here.
Yeah. And I am to a point. Again, it's
Mm-hmm.
I get so even though again this was probably one of the earlier films to do this, but I'm so bitter and jaded about Hollywood films trying to tell me that getting rich is pointless, because or
Mm-hmm.
not pointless, but getting rich is just going to turn you into a terrible person. See, they don't have love like you poors do. And I want to
Right.
go, it just feels like you're trying to keep me from pursuing any ambitions because you want to hoard the money for yourself. Like that's what I see in these movies.
Yeah.
And that's horrible because
Yeah.
I don't doubt that the best things in life are free.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also living in reality and would like some fucking comfort and would like to not constantly be worried about budgeting like
Right.
most people,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
I
Mm-hmm.
would like to not have to start a GoFundMe for my dog,
Right. Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And even
Mm-hmm.
that is still pretty fucking privileged. Like,
Right. Yeah.
people have to do GoFundMe's for their own, physical health, but still, all that to say, like,
Some people have
again,
to start a meth lab.
you know what? Actually, no, I can't side with Walter White. He's terrible too. He's bad too.
He is bad too.
Because the
Yeah.
thing is, he was just an. Oh, I'm not gonna. No, we're not gonna go on that tangent about Walter White being awful because you all should know.
Yeah. He's bad.
So yeah, just there's a lot that's fascinating and a lot that's really cool to talk about with this movie, and there's also a lot that is really fucking maddening.
Sure. Yeah. But that's good. You know what I mean? Like the fact that you come out of this movie, this 84-year-old movie, like feeling anything, is amazing.
Yeah, and yeah, I'm with you on that. Like as I'm watching it, I kept thinking, am I supposed to be rooting for him? I don't get it. But again, I did not I did not have on my bingo card this week, you're gonna start bawling over a fucking sled.
Hmm.
You know, and I mean it's ultimately crying for the loss of child innocence,
Hmm.
and the loss of or the idea that the last point of joy was in childhood.
Hmm.
I mean, that kind of goes along with, you know, a fear of having peaked in high school. It's like,
Sure.
yeah, last week, Dazed and Confused, and Pink going, man, if you ever hear me saying these are the best 4 years of my life, remind me to fucking kill myself. And it's like, yeah.
Yep. You're still mad I won all county. All right, all right, all right.
But it sure would be cool if you did.
It'd be a lot cooler if you did. Um, all right. So, what kind of adventures and intimacy do we have in this movie?
Much like the directors and camera people in this, I had to dig deep to see the
Sure.
intimacy.
Hmm.
Like Dylan,
That's right.
seeing that fucking West Bev High 93. Yeah.
Fucking West Bev. HI 93.
Yeah, sorry.
Hi.
So I think I'm going to start a little backwards on my notes. Not that anyone knows what my notes look like. Um, so yeah, I had to dig deep for the intimacy in this because there are relationships,
Hmm.
but there's not a lot of intimacy because it's not about the love story. And
Right.
I think that's the correct focus.
Hmm.
However, I still think you could have added extra touches. Like, and not even just physical touches. I mean just like, signs that there was life in these relationships at all. Just
Mm-hmm.
again, a little something, which I'm already kind of feeling the need to backtrack on that because you do have these things. So like something I really liked between the mom and baby Charles is,
Mm-hmm.
because I get where you're coming from again with like she just wanted to get rid of him. But there was something in watching her that, yes, she is stoic. You
Mm-hmm.
can't tell anything. But when you hear how she says his name, there's this like crack almost. There is
Mm-hmm.
there is a shift. There is like a waver in how she says it. And and also when she's talking to him, she, you know, fixes his scarf and tucks his hair behind his ear. And then eventually, like, I think has him nuzzled against her. And I wrote it down. She has her cheek tilted toward him before leaving. And it's really sweet.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what the deeper intentions of it are, I think there's some regret, or at least she cares about him. She does care about
Mm-hmm.
him. And in her own disillusioned way, this is her giving him up is the best form of love she can give him.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a read on her that she is sending him away because she thinks it's the only way he is going to live a full life.
And it's wrong.
You know, like
It's
it
so
is.
wrong.
She's totally
But
wrong. I mean, you
but
see
I
what
think
it does.
definitely, yeah, but we definitely needed to see, because it's like he knew, oh, people are gonna hate this woman. Um, because she's a woman. So they had to give her tender beats to show that
Mm-hmm.
like she is caring. She does love him in her own way. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and other moments, I feel like in older movies, people were so much better at looking into each other's eyes, but also the
Mm-hmm.
lighting captures it in a way that I just don't feel like you see as well anymore. I think the other time that I am so entranced by how people are looking at each other is in The Sound of Music when it's Maria and Captain in the gazebo.
Mm-hmm.
That lighting is beautiful. And similarly, when Susan and Kane are talking to each other, they have this very era specific way of sitting next to each other. Like the door has to be open because her landlady doesn't like it to be closed when she has gentleman callers. But then also like
Right.
they're sitting next to each other, but very prim and only a few inches apart, but again, still very prim. Like nothing is touching. I think the closest thing that might touch might be their knees, but even then, not happening. The
Yeah.
intimacy is all between the eyes.
Mm.
I feel like there could have been more because I don't get the Susan and Kane relationship at all. And again, I know I'm going out of order here, but I'm on it right now. I don't, because they never touch. You don't see them touch. There's no physical intimacy until she's trying to leave, which tells a fairly accurate story. Like, no, you can't leave. Like, I, what
Yeah.
do you do when you're losing something you own? You grab onto it. So
Yeah. I mean, I don't know that. Like, I feel like all of the stuff that you're pointing out is the point. Like I don't
I
think we're
know.
ever supposed to, like, we're not supposed to feel like this guy has any love for anybody. Like he is constantly withholding. And like I
But
don't
why can't the other characters?
they try. Like I think they want to capture his love. Like the sycophant guy and Joseph Cotton are they're trying to, like they're trying to they're trying to love him in the ways that
Yeah.
they can.
Yeah.
And like when he's like, give me the, I'm gonna keep this uh, declaration of principles because I think it's gonna be important. Like
Yeah.
this is the work of a great man, and I'm going to honor this great man. And then eventually he sends it back to him as like, what happened to you? Um, but I mentioned this before we started, but I wanted to know if you were going to talk about the kitchen table scene because I
Well,
think that is fucking brilliant. Like
it is.
their whole relationship told at that table just by moving them a little bit apart from each other every time. And it's like, oh wow, it's the total lack of intimacy that is what's happening here. And it's just like, man, that's an economical way to do this shit.
Oh yeah. It's it's really great. I know. I wondered if you heard it. No, and that definitely I noted that because and again in the rewatch, like you know they're not completely opposite each other when they first start out, and she's got on this dress that is showing a little shoulder.
Mhm.
They're um kind of being cutesy and flirtatious with each other, and like, oh my goodness, I've never had a party go that late. What must the servants think?
Right.
Like, we made so much noise.
Right. Yeah.
Noise?
Mm-hmm.
What does
That
that
means
mean?
fucking. It means
I
fucking.
know. She might have
Hey,
let out a
Leslie.
gasp.
Leslie, it means fucking. Just so you
What?
know.
Um
I know. Scandalous. That's why, by the way, I don't know if you picked up on it. That's why she has to keep her door open because of fucking.
Oh, yeah, no, I got
Yeah.
that.
Oh,
Just
oh,
so
okay.
everyone's clear. Just so everyone's clear. I do get this. I know it's era specific. I know.
I just
Oh,
like explaining the
because
obvious.
people don't slut shame women anymore. That's
Nope.
gone. No
Nope.
one
Now
has
go
ever
sing a song.
no one I won't go in there. No, I'll say it. No one has ever made a derogatory comment to me about, being with a partner and not married to him.
Oh shit! That's right. You live in sin
I do.
again.
Yep. Giving away the milk for free.
Oh my god! Is the door at least open?
Fuck
I
no.
mean, okay, good.
I mean, that's a whole listen, that's another thing. For
I
the
think
door
I
to
think
be
her I think her landlady was a perv. That's what I think. And she was hoping to get a little.
open.
Yeah,
So yeah, the
I
montage.
was not.
Exa-
Mary Bailey's mom.
yeah. The
Sam
montage
Wainwright's about to call.
the montage is indeed pretty great. I think that's another area where and I'm being nitpicky. Like, I'm saying there could have been some embellishments and I don't have a lot to back it up because what is there is the point. I still think some stuff could have been added in here and there again to just I because I wanted more. But
Got it.
that's probably why I wouldn't have been hired to work on something like this. One, I
Right.
wasn't alive. And then two, yeah, just some projects they want to be told a certain way, and that's fine.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, like again with the montage, I feel it definitely wasn't like the typical uh escalation is what I'm trying to say.
Mm.
Like
Yeah.
in my head, I would have had them they're flirting and I don't know. The nitpicking didn't really seem to grow. It seemed to go back and forth, which I guess makes sense. You
Sure.
things escalate and then they de-escalate. Until finally you kind of become cold to it all, which she
Yeah.
definitely does. But it's interesting how they because she didn't become I mean she in some parts of the montage, she does become more covered up. Her hair is pulled back tighter. Um she has some more makeup on, but then she has lower cut stuff on again.
Hmm.
So I don't know. It's not a perfect passage of time. Like
Yeah.
I think I probably would have had wardrobe keep her in getting progressively more buttoned up. Like, no, you don't get to see this anymore. I'm mad at you.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
but it's gosh, it's fun to watch those two.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, let's see. I feel like oh, going okay, since we're still talking about him and Emily, like I did not understand why he threw it all away for Susan.
Yeah. I don't I don't know that I understand that either, except for of course he's going to make a terrible choice.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like this guy, like he keeps trying to make people love him. And he's going to win this election, and he's got that reform. He's going to get rid of cronyism and whataboutism and all the isms. Um and then he's rejected at his own game because he's outplayed by someone smarter than him, and he could probably beat it, but he doesn't want to be bested.
Mm,
So he says, um, "You can't fire me. I quit." You know, and his wife can't leave him if he leaves her. So, maybe that's it. You know,
okay.
like maybe, and just a
Yeah.
supposition.
No, I needed ideas, and
Yeah,
I I was even willing to accept like he just needed to make a bad choice. Okay. Well, he
yeah,
definitely did.
he does a lot of that.
Um I have to nitpick this one. So when he's dancing with the chorus girls and he leans over and kisses one, they had clearly practiced it. Well, they had clearly practiced it. To what
Hmm.
level I can't say, but she puckered her lips in
Hmm.
anticipation and then acted surprised. And I thought, which is it, honey?
Right,
Someone help this poor girl. So like you can't anticipate it, or you can, but then you can't do the surprise thing, or you need to play it up a bit more because you're playing a chorus girl, and back then they would have done the whole like, oh, fake shock and all of
right.
that. And
There's this there's this movie. I don't remember what movie it is, but I've seen this clip a bunch of times where it's like it's an old black and white movie. It's in a like a dining hall. People are sitting around eating, and the two main characters are here in the foreground, and they're having an argument, and one of them pulls out a gun and shoots the other. In the background, there's a child, there's a kid actor back there who knows the gunshot is coming and goes, like, plugs his ears, and you can see him do it about 3 seconds before the gun comes out. And what are you gonna do? You know what I mean? Like the kid was like, "This is too loud," and
fired.
yeah, you could. I mean, he's in the movie. I mean, they couldn't cut him out. He's right there in the back of the shot. So it's kind of the same thing. It's like, I know some smooching's coming.
I know it's so funny to watch older films and see where they were willing to let things slide. um yeah, and again,
Mhm.
at the end of the day, does it really matter? No, but if you want to talk about it being a masterpiece, well, I'm gonna nitpick it.
Sure, I get you. I get you.
Yeah.
Any other intimacies?
um no, I think I covered it all. That's as much as I could dig up.
Yeah, all right. My needle drop force is pretty short. And it's going to serve as a transition into what else time. But there is a man, a certain man, like that whole song is one of the things that The Simpsons spoofs about Citizen Kane. Smithers does a whole number where there is a man, a certain man, and they got the dancers, and he's on the stage, and it's C. Montgomery Burns, and so Mr. Burns is named after Charles Foster Kane. Charles Montgomery Burns, Charles Foster Kane. It's three names on purpose. Like, that's how deep that goes. But there are at minimum 8 different references to the Godfather, or not. I saw the Godfather because they reference the Godfather probably more. I think you could probably watch the entirety of the Godfather just in Simpsons clips. Like, they
Great.
do
That's
almost
how
the
I'll
whole
watch
movie.
it. Because talk about, yeah, talk about something I really don't care to see again because of the hype around it. Yeah, let's just watch the Simpsons cut of it.
There you go. One of the references is they do a whole in one of the Halloween episodes. They do a parody of War of the Worlds, which was the Orson Welles radio broadcast that everybody believed was real aliens invading the Earth. And Orson Welles in that tries to warn Chief Wiggum about the coming whatever, and Wiggum's like, "I'm going to punch you right in the nose, bud," and he goes, "Nose, bud." That's where he gets that idea. And then there's another Halloween episode called Citizen Kane, where Kang and Kodos come down and replace Bill Clinton and Bob Dole a week before the election. And then they've got a whole there's a Guess Who's Coming to Criticize Dinner episode where on the wall they have the Kane from Citizen Kane. And Lisa's like, "Wait a minute, there's no Kane in Citizen Kane."
Great.
Yeah. And then there's an episode where Sideshow Bob runs for office, and it's called Sideshow Bob Roberts, which is a reference to the Tim Robbins movie, Bob Roberts. But he does the rally scene, like taken from far away, and you see the whole crowd and the red drape behind him with the big, full size Bob behind him instead of Kane. Like they lift the whole shot. They also do there is a certain man. There's an episode called Two Cars in Every Garage and Three Eyes on Every Fish from season 2 that is loaded with Citizen Kane references. But the big one is there's an episode called Rosebud. And it's about how Mr. Burns loved his teddy bear named Bobo. And so it's all these flashbacks to Bobo, and Bobo is left in the snow, just like the sled is, and it's the whole thing. But one of my favorite jokes in that is little shithead C. Montgomery Burns is driving bumper cars, and in his flashback memory, and he intentionally rams an Irishman until he like breaks his legs, just keeps ramming him with it, and the guy's like begging for him to stop, but also he can't because the little master's in charge of everything. And they cut to the future, they cut to the present day, and Burns is laughing about it, like still, like 50 years later, laughing about it. And then there's like a montage of him doing like 7 different activities over the course of many days where he's continuing to laugh about it.
Oh my God.
And then he's like, "Oh, what was I laughing about again? Oh, yes, that crippled Irishman." And he starts laughing again. I know. I love it. But yeah, it's so interwoven into the fabric of The Simpsons and a bunch of other shit. Like that this movie is referenced directly and indirectly all the time. And it's one of those things I think is like, it's one of the great reasons to watch something like this. Because if you grew up watching The Simpsons, like I did from, 7th or 8th grade on, and you've seen all these things, but you don't know what they are.
Yeah.
And then you see Citizen Kane and you go, that was Sideshow Bob Roberts,
Yep.
Or that was that episode. Like, and suddenly you get jokes that you never got before. And like, if the only thing that watching old movies does is provide you with a larger frame of reference to get jokes, I think it's 100% worth it.
Oh yeah.
Like if that's all you get out of, and again, I recommend watching The Godfather, because the shit you get that has been referenced a million times that you just don't know. And it's another movie about people you aren't going to like so much. Um,
I
you know,
just think about all the Kens telling all the Barbies
sure,
about The Godfather. Like
yeah.
it's the best film ever.
I mean, it's a top fiver in that AFI list. With this and Citizen Kane, or this and Casablanca, and
I'll give him
like
Casablanca, but all these male ensemble films being in the top five, I'm
I
over
feel
it.
you. I
It's
get
Women's
it.
History Month. I don't have to care.
You don't have to. I'm not suggesting that that you should or that you will like this movie, because I don't think "should" is a word that needs to be said ever.
Correct.
Um, but I do think there's value to it. You know,
Absolutely. And okay, then maybe that's a good way to go into The Godfather. Okay, I need to focus on that then. The
yeah,
value of
like
it, the
yeah,
art.
like it's just better to broaden yourself.
Yeah,
And to see things that you think are probably not for you. You know, um,
it's good to understand the enemy.
I mean it. I like. I would like.
Am I
You're
gonna sob over the horse?
you're 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 gonna be horrified over the fucking horse.
As long as
Uh,
I'd rather feel horrified than cry. Again, I'm
you're not gonna cry over the horse.
good. I don't
Um,
want to cry over it. I cry too much already.
Cartoon. Um, yeah, I just like, and I'm a little bit of a hypocrite here, admittedly. And see, this is the curse of my level of self awareness. Is like I understand how and where I'm a ridiculous person. Um, because like I get that people really like The Crown, and I get that people really like um, Downtown Abbey.
How
Even though
dare you?
I
How
don't even
dare
know,
you say it that way?
did Abby ever get downtown? I don't fucking know.
It's
Um,
Downton! You
I know it is.
plebe!
I know.
You
Um,
heathen!
I know people like that, and that it is objectively good. I have no interest. Like it just like costume dramas. I find myself actively not caring while I'm watching them. I'm like, all right. I mean, all these people are dead anyway. Boy, they're worked up about some shit. I don't
They're
know.
so
Like
good, but that's
I
fair.
I get it. I mean, I believe you that they are good. And like I also think I would probably gain things by watching them. I don't know that I'm going to, because I'm just not that interested, you know?
Yeah.
And we're not doing a podcast where we watch Downtown Abbey.
Oh, there are movies. We could find a way.
Yeah, oh, there are for sure movies. There are movies I saw in high school that I'm shocked I watched and liked. Like I
Yeah.
I went to the theater to see Remains of the Day, and I liked it.
Nice.
Yeah, like some of those Merchant Ivory type deals, like yeah, I get it. But also like them, I wanted to strangle Anthony Hopkins. I'm like, why don't you just tell her you love her, asshole? That's my memory of that
Why
movie.
don't
Like
you
I
kiss
don't
her
even know
instead
if
of talking her to death?
that what'd you say? Um, I don't even remember if that's what that movie's about, but I have this memory of Hopkins standing there by himself at the end, all alone, because he never told her that he loved her. And I'm like, fucking asshole, do it. Like, like that was my
Yeah.
takeaway. So I don't know, whatever. Um, is this anyone's defining role?
Uh, I'm guessing Orson Welles is.
I mean, I would say it's either that or Lou Lord, who gets Kermit the Frog and Friends the Standard Rich and Famous contract.
you. I was listening to some. I don't think it was the Roger Ebert. I was listening to a little bit of it. I couldn't watch all of it. Um, but I was listening to something talk about Orson Welles and him getting, signed on to Hollywood and all this, and I went, "Oh, is he referencing himself getting the
Uh, Maybe.
the?"
I mean, like that's the crazy thing about this movie is like this was his first movie. Like he kind of had right. He kind of had carte blanche because of how big War of the Worlds was. Like RKO said, "Do what you want," and he hired a bunch of people who were stage actors who had never been in movies before, and made this masterpiece like first time out the gate, and sets himself up as like this wonderkind that he's now going to have to try to, and nothing else he does reaches these levels. But I will
Yeah.
say the third man is fucking good, and I I really like Touch of Evil. I think it's pretty good. Um, I will recommend to everyone out there, and you, because I'm certain you haven't seen this. There is, um, there's an audio outtake of Orson Welles recording a Bird's Eye Pea commercial, and when the guy in the booth breaks in to ask him to do it a different way, he fucking loses his mind. I mean, he goes off on a tirade as like, I take direction from, who are you? What is your job? Because it's not even the director, it's like a PA. And he's like, I take direction from one person only, and that's reluctantly. And I mean, he loses his mind. It's fascinating to listen to. So listen to it, and then go watch the Pinky and the Brain episode of Animaniacs, because the brain is Orson Welles. His voice is an Orson Welles impression.
Okay.
Yeah. And he does that where Pinky is the guy, Narf, in there giving him the notes, and Brain loses it, and he's quoting pretty much verbatim from the Bird's Eye Pea thing. And it's masterful. It's really funny. So
Incredible.
yeah, everyone needs to go listen to the Bird's Eye Pea thing and watch the Pinky and the Brain reference to it, because it's one of those things where if you don't know the Bird's Eye Pea thing, it's still funny. But
Yep.
if you know that reference, you go, well, I mean, come the fuck on. Like, good job. Like, that's brilliant. I can't, no notes. 10 out of 10. Anyone else's defining role?
I knew no one else in this.
I mean, I know Joseph Cotton because he does other stuff. I can't remember what other things he's been in with Wells, but he did stuff with him, and yeah, he was in a lot of stuff. It's definitely not. It's definitely not Endora's from Bewitched. Also, by the way, she's the voice of the goose in Charlotte's Web, the cartoon.
Oh, I don't
Yeah,
remember the goose saying anything.
yeah,
Um, but cool. I like Charlotte's Web.
I'm sure you do. Yeah, I like Charlotte's Web too. Um, but like when you go on her IMDb page, the top image is from Charlotte's Web.
Oh
Yeah,
my god. Humble.
that'll do, Pig. Oh wait, wrong movie.
No.
That's a good movie too. Have you seen? You didn't like Babe. You walked out, right?
Walked out of babe.
It's fucking weird.
I'm a monster.
We're gonna have to watch Babe at some point just to rectify the travesty that is you walking out of Babe. I'll tell you
Blame
what
my
movie
dad.
we'll do. Nice job, Mike. The one movie I remember walking out of was this movie called The Dream Team with Michael Keaton and Christopher Lloyd, and I can't remember who else is in it, but they play um they're like people who live in a loony bin that get to go out on like an excursion, and then they like escape the excursion, and it's like these guys out on the town. And I don't know if this movie's any good or not, but I was done. Like,
Yeah.
we were there was like it was in high school, and we went with a bunch of people, and I think we were like the only people in the theater, and we were like, all right, let's go. Like, I think we made it about halfway through. I'm not suggesting we watch The Dream Team, but if we have to completionist Babe for you, maybe we have to completionist The Dream Team for me.
No, I think those are two very different films. I think you
Oh,
were
for
right
sure.
about yours, and I was
Maybe,
misguided.
maybe it's really funny. I don't know. Like, maybe I just didn't get it. All right. What else do you have for what else time?
I don't have anything else. For
Okay.
what else? We kind of talked about everything I had.
Awesome. So what is this the EST of for you?
It's the most I've ever cried over a sled.
Well, there's that.
Fucking
I mean,
embarrassing.
no, because it lands.
Because I'm I'm dumbfounded. And then tears are running down my face. And
Mm-hmm.
Walter's just next to me playing a game. And
Mm-hmm.
I look over and I'm recounting it back to him. And I just start sobbing.
Yeah. Good. I love that. I love I love when movies make you feel things.
I
You
would
know?
like it too if I didn't have people from my past in my brain making me feel bad about crying. That's where that comes from. I know crying is good for you. I want to feel good about crying. People compliment me for crying because they're so fucking repressed.
Mm-hmm.
But we all
Most
know at the
definitely.
end of the day who's going to get made fun of more. The crier.
Nah, I don't know about that. I think we've come a long way vis-a-vis crying.
You know, there's a reason I still look youthful. And
Sobbing?
it's because what else keeps this face moist?
No, there well,
No!
okay.
I just
Uh
listened to you talk about Kelly and her canvas, and now I'm like, fuck, I set it up.
yes, I did. I listened to me say that too. And that is 100% the thing I'm thinking of right now. So
Just
everybody go back and listen to is that Senior Poll?
yes, it is.
Yeah, go back and listen to Senior Poll if you don't know what we're talking about. And the horrible inappropriateness of me. Um, yeah, that was still. I'm still. I thought about editing that out, and I'm like, no, it's really funny.
I'm glad you did it. It's funny.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's so gross. Um. Anyway, what is this the EST of for me? This is the highest bar possibly set
Mm.
by a first-time writer, director, and actor. And you're never gonna get there again.
No.
And it's like I said, I've seen 3, 4 of his movies and really like the ones I've seen. But this dude had a hard time getting movies made after a little while. Because it seems like maybe he wasn't the easiest person to work with. I don't know.
You don't say.
I know. Well, I mean, here's the thing about that though. Like, if everyone, if you do the first 2 things you do that anyone knows about, everyone tells you are the greatest shit they've ever seen, how do you not take that in and feel like maybe you're the best thing that's ever been? Like, you shouldn't believe your own press like that, but I get it.
Well, and here's what I just had to remind myself too. A lot of times, not always, but a lot of times, the people in Hollywood who are lauded as difficult to work with are usually progressive types. Now, that being said, you did mention a video of him yelling at a poor PA. So,
Yeah. Yep.
not to say people don't have their days. I don't know. I did not know this man. I This is like the second thing of his I've ever seen, but it's just
Third.
one of those things where like, oh, third?
Muppet movie.
Muppet movie.
Come on.
So, all that to say, he may have been difficult to work with, but it's good to question why someone was difficult to work with.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I think it's, I mean, you could say like, oh, he's terrible, but he like had great sadness in him, the same way that Charles Foster Kane did. Um,
And
there,
me.
there you go. There's another Simpsons thing where Marge is painting and she paints Mr. Burns, and she paints him naked and liver spotted getting out of the shower, and it's absolutely horrific. Um, and but it's like up at this art gallery, and someone goes, "Oh, I think I get it. He's horrible, but he's going to die."
Man, do I need to venture into The Simpsons?
Yes, I mean everybody does.
It's
That's
gonna take me the rest of my life.
You'd be surprised. Um, you'd be surprised at how quickly you can get there. Um, all right. So I think once again we have proven my theory that everything comes back to Aaron Spelling.
Even Citizen Kane.
Even Citizen Kane. Could you believe it? Um, join us here next week, Cheesemeisters, when we go on Wednesday headfirst into season 4. We're going to watch season 4, episode 1. So long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, goodbye. We haven't discussed what we're going to watch yet. I'm a little worried we're going to end up watching Sound of Music.
Oh, I hadn't even.
So long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, goodbye.
It is the 60th anniversary. No, I would love to watch that, but I hadn't even thought about that for this. I'm sure
I didn't
there's.
either until I saw the name of the episode. So
Well,
I don't know. I don't know what we're gonna do.
Okay.
Maybe we'll let's see, because you've watched this episode this week and I haven't yet. Which is pretty. I don't know why I say that, because it's true every week. Like, I don't watch it until the night before. Like we could watch something that's about bagels and how they're better in New York.
Don't give him that.
We
Even
could
though it's
watch. We could watch something about a beach house, I guess. We could. We could watch.
Anything about, like, because she's not in summer school, or like, anything about roommates.
I don't know. I mean, we could watch Summer School because Courtney Thorne-Smith is in Summer School, from Melrose.
Oh my god.
One half of the most boring couple in America. Fucking Allison.
Yes.
Also, I recommend there's a clip of her on Conan, and Norm is there sitting next to her, and he's just giving her shit the whole time. And she's there to to hype this new movie that she does with I think it's with Carrot Top. And Norm is just like, well, this is going to be terrible. Like, this movie has to be terrible. What? And Conan's like, what's it called? And she's like, chairman of the board. And he's like, do something with that, you freak. And Norm takes a beat and goes, I bet it's spelled Bored. It's so funny.
Oh my god.
So, we could Courtney Thorne-Smith it. We could watch something that has Jenny Calendar in it. That's the name of her character in Buffy. Rabia Lamort is her name, I think.
I'm gonna need to research this.
She was a backup dancer for Prince. I think she might be on the album cover for Diamonds and Pearls. So we could potentially find a Prince movie to watch, which would maybe be interesting. Not all of his movies are good. Some of them, there was a podcast I used to listen to on Grantland about 10 years ago, Wesley Morris and Alex Papademos. Wesley Morris is like won a Pulitzer Prize. He's fucking brilliant. Really interesting to listen to. But the title of their podcast was, Do You Like Prince Movies?
Oh god.
And they never talked about Prince movies. They talked about movies and pop culture and stuff. But like the central conceit was like, I don't even do I like Prince movies? I don't know if I do, or maybe I do. Like maybe there's something to recommend these movies. So I don't know. We could go that direction. We could do any number of things.
Yeah,
it's a mystery.
It is a mystery. I was thinking about it earlier, and I have no idea. I'm gonna have to like deep dive on this.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to load up my season 4 tracker, so we can start figuring this shit out.
All right.
Because it's college, kids. It's a whole new world. So.
Oh my god, the hair's higher.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Oh, the weeping. Oh, the weeping to come in season 4.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's amazing. All right. But until then, Cheesemeisters. Cheers.